Hey, what's going on, you guys? Welcome back to the channel. I figured I have some downtime, so I might as well make a little update video. So I meant to make this video about a week ago to give you guys my impressions of the 42mm turbo that I had installed. But I went ahead and I only drove the car for about 2 or 3 days on the turbo, and then I immediately decided to upgrade to stage 3 software. So I sent my ECU back off to Mario and got the stage 3 software put onto it. Got the ECU back. The process only took about like 3 days total between me overnighting it to him and then he overnighted it back on the second day that he had it. So not a bad deal. Smooth transaction. And when I got the ECU back, I plugged it in, hooked the battery back up, fired the car up, and took it out for a test drive to see how she felt. So during my test drive, I did a couple of hard pulls, maybe 3 or 4, just getting a feel for it after the car came up to operating temperature and everything. And what ended up happening was I was just kind of making a loop around the perimeter of where I live on the main roads, and I came to a stoplight, and all of a sudden, while sitting at the stoplight, the car started to misfire. It started to kind of sound like a Subaru. So I made the left at the stoplight, pulled into a parking lot for a Dunkin' Donuts, and decided to see if I could diagnose what was going on. So with the car running, I popped the hood, took a look. The engine, you could definitely tell, was dragging one cylinder around. So I shut it off, and then I went to go inspect the coil packs, and I pulled the coil pack off of each one basically. And when I got to number 3, I'm going to put a picture in here for you guys to see this. It was basically like fried. There was a little bit of melted plastic. The wires were exposed. There was a little bit of smoke that came out when I got it pulled out. And I was like, well, there's my problem. So I called a buddy of mine to see if he could come out and rescue me, and he stopped by my house and picked up the OEM coil packs that I had taken out. Because if you guys follow me on Instagram, you might have seen that I installed a new set of coil packs while the ECU was out for tuning. So I'm going to put a link in the description to the coil packs that I bought, because I want you guys to avoid these coil packs. Also, I'm going to put a link in the description of the coil packs that I just ordered, which should be direct OEM replacement, but at a much better price, and I got them off of ECSTuning. The ones that I had bought before were from Amazon, and I'll tell you this right now, Amazon doesn't know what it's talking about. So the green light was lit on Amazon, hey, these fit your car, these work for your car, and whatever, but obviously it's not the case. They look very similar. The only difference I noticed was my OEM ones, on the bottom of them, there's a piece of rubber about this long. It goes pretty much all the way up to the metal sleeve around the coil. And on the other ones that I ordered off Amazon, there was a small rubber boot at the bottom, and then there was kind of like, how do you describe it? More like a crosshair of plastic, I guess you could say, where like the other rubber boot would cover over on the OEM one. And then it went to the metal body. And at first I was like, oh, maybe it's just an updated version. They were both Delphi coils. That's what the manufacturer uses from the factory. But apparently what I'm thinking is Amazon made the mistake of marking these okay for Mini Cooper S's, and they're actually probably more for the standard Cooper that doesn't have the turbo. So they probably got overloaded by how much current the coils were demanding, and then one thing led to another. It blew up, probably caused a short as well, because in the end, after checking all the wiring, checking the spark plugs, checking everything, I couldn't find anything else really wrong. And I actually switched an OEM coil into that spot and tried it again, but the car would start up and it would still be misfiring on cylinder 3. Like, it basically just wasn't doing anything. And it actually melted one of the OEM coil packs as well. So I did a lot of research on the forums and a lot of Googling and everything else to see if anybody else had experienced the same thing, and come to find out there are a few people out there with BMWs, actually almost any car manufacturer. There's actually a couple domestics and stuff that experienced the same thing too, and everything came back to that the DME or ECU is bad. So what I'm assuming happened is when that coil failed, it sent electricity back to the ECU and basically melted the connection for ignition chip 3. So that's the conclusion that I basically came to, was that there had to be some sort of electrical short that happened along with the coil pack failure. Um, I'm not sure if the coil pack failing was a result of it being the wrong coil pack, or if it just couldn't handle the current being sent to it and the demand that the ignition system was putting onto it. Because also the 15 amp fuse that's under the hood that's actually tied to making sure that the DME portion that controls ignition is powered and able to send signals to your coil packs. That fuse blew out, and it blew out a few times because I replaced it and tried to limp the car home. I was only about a mile and a half from home, and then when I made it to about the half-mile mark, the car just completely quit, and every time I tried to put a new fuse in it, it would just immediately blow it out. So it ended up turning into a long night of trying to fix a bunch of things on the side of the road, and then I ended up having to just call my insurance company and have a tow truck come out and save me, take me the half mile to my house, basically. So I got it to the house. The next day I fiddled around with it a little more, and this is when I started trying to chase the wiring, and I could not find anything wrong with the wiring. Like, there was no chafing, there were no, cut wires or frayed wires, no nothing. So, that's pretty much when I just came to the conclusion that it has to be the DME at this point. And there's a few people out there that agreed. So a DME from a dealership costs like $1,800 for this car. It is actually covered under a 80,000 mile, 8-year manufacturer warranty under the emission system. I was going to go that route. But I was a little worried that when they saw all the modifications under the hood of the car, they were probably going to be like, no, we're not going to cover this. So it just seemed like too much of a pain to go ahead and put like all the OEM coils back in, all the OEM spark plugs back in, and like basically make it try to look as stock as possible per se. It just seemed like too much of a hassle. So I started doing some research about replacing the DME with a used one, and I found a lot of good results with that as well. And a few people on the North American Motor Forum were telling me that they had some success with that as well. So I went ahead and sourced a used DME on carpart.com or .net. All I had to do was make sure that I had a matching part number. So whatever, like, I think it's like 7 digits that your ECU number ends in, you need to make sure that those numbers match. So like my model of ECU is an MEVD 1727, but the last numbers on there that you're looking for on the sticker, they're actually the largest numbers on there, is like 8610006. So all I had to do was find another DME that matched that. It didn't matter if it came out of a manual transmission, an automatic transmission, an all-wheel drive, it didn't matter. So I found one for $135. Went ahead and ordered it. It was coming off of a parts car in Minnesota. So that'll be here hopefully sometime soon, within the next couple of days. I'm hoping by the end of the week. They only had like regular ground shipping, so hopefully that's just like a 4-day transit. Once that gets here, I'm going to send it to a company in Illinois, and they basically can clone the DME. So they're gonna pretty much like wipe the new one that I'm getting clean. They're gonna copy the stuff from my old one, and then they're gonna put my old information onto the new one, and then they'll ship it back to me. And then it should be basically just plug and play. Plug it back in, make sure everything's straight, and then fire up the car and hope for the best. but I'm like 99.99 some percent positive that it's going to fix my problem. Pretty much the exact same symptoms are down to a T with everybody else that has dealt with this. The good news is I did get some dyno footage from when the car was still stage 2. So I got some dyno footage for you guys that I'm going to play. And then I also have one of the pulls that I did from after stage 3. I have one of those available as well. So I'm going to plug that into this video and let you guys at least see, you know, sort of what I'm looking at. I'm not sure if it's, you know, during that pull it was pulling as strong as it could, because this pull was literally like maybe a minute and a half before the DME thing happened. So enjoy the clips. Let me know what you guys think. And as always, stay tuned. Hit that subscribe button if you want to see more. The weather has not been treating us very good. All these nor'easters coming through on the East Coast. I hope that today was like our last little bit of snow for this year. It looks like we got some 50-degree weather and such coming up. The track is open, but they haven't been able to run because of that snow, and it keeps dumping you know, snow, and then it melts in the water and everything else. So hopefully very soon we'll be able to get out there and get some track footage, get some times, and you know, see how far we've progressed